interested in attending those services. Invocation today will be given by Father Thomas Bartz of St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. As Orthodox Christians, we're always called to pray for our civil leaders, which we do at every service, and so it's always a great pleasure to come and actually see the people we pray for. So we'll pray together. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. O Creator and Author of the human race, giver of all spiritual graces, bestower of eternal salvation, do thou, the same Lord, send down thine all-holy Spirit with a blessing from on high, and bless these your civil servants, so that fortified by the might of thy heavenly protection, they may be able to help and to aid all who come to them. Further, we ask of thee, O Lord, to protect all those in public service. Grant them the ability to serve and govern in peace, that through the faithful conduct of their duties, we may live peaceful and serene lives in all piety and holiness. We ask thee through our Lord Jesus Christ, who together with thee and the eternal Father and thine all-holy good and life-creating Spirit is glorified, and to thee do we send up glory, to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
Today the Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Harold T. Branch Academy student Zachary Tarski. Zachary is currently studying computer science and programming. We're happy to have you here today, Zachary.
Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please continue with the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Zach. Of your studies. Ms. Huerta, will you please call the roll of the required charter officers?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo is absent. Council members Roland Barrera is not here. Sylvia Campos. Here. Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Jim Klein.
Here.
Mike Pesley. Everett Roy.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Suckley.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley. Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Will you or your team please provide the security briefing this morning?
Ladies and gentlemen, in the event of an emergency, we will exit the boardroom to my right, the council's left, proceed towards the west stairwell down to the first floor, where you will exit through the west side doors. Once outside, you will continue towards the clock tower adjacent to the transfer station. I will account for all the council members, and Assistant City Secretary Stephanie Box will be the last one out to ensure everyone gets out safely. 3 things to remember during an emergency. Number 1, please do not use the elevator. Number 2, please only return once the all clear has been given. And number 3, if we need to shelter in place, we will do so in the west side stairwell. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Huerta. All right, item F, we'll move on to city manager's comments. Peter?
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So we do have a number of items on the city manager report today. The first 2 give the council updates on some significant improvements and progress we're making at 2 of our important venues, if you will. One is our international airport, and then the second would be our municipal marina. And we're going to begin with the presentation by Kevin Smith on the airport. But before we do that, I did want to introduce, we thought it'd be timely to introduce to you a new executive at the airport, filling a vacancy there. So Kimberly Miller, I appointed her this Monday as the Assistant Director for the International Airport, overseeing finance and administration. And Kimberly's going to come up to the podium here and introduce herself, but just to give you all a little bit of background, she has 27 years of administrative experience, mostly in financial administration. 17 of those 27 years, she has been an executive, so leading teams of people to obtain the goals of an organization. Before joining the city, and has it been 3 years, Kimberly, you've been with us? Yeah, before joining the city 3 years ago at the airport, she was 16 years with Texas A&M Corpus Christi, working in as the assistant director, her last position for university services. So there she helped just below the president, helping with administrative services, finance, auditing, that type of thing. So Kimberly really enjoys what she does at the airport. It was a great find for her coming to the city, and it's a great appointment. She'll help Tyler and Kevin in leading the airport forward. Just one final note, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. Her background does include a bachelor's of business administration from Texas A&M, and numerous certifications include one she just got recently, the American Association of Airport Executives, a certification there. Pretty rigorous set of studies and a pretty rigorous test, and she passed it. So Kimberly, thank you for taking the appointment, and thank you for being here this morning. I'll turn it over to you to say a few words to the City Council.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, members of council, Mayor Pro Tem, and city leadership. As Peter mentioned, I've been with the city about 3 years as the finance manager at the airport, previous to that with Texas A&M University as an assistant director. My career spans about 35 years, all of which are in accounting. In addition to the many years in higher education, I've worked in commercial property management, legal, and for a large corporation in the Northeast. I'm a graduate of Ray High School, Del Mar College, and Texas A&M University. As mentioned, I recently earned my CM certification, which is administered by the AAAE, which is the American Association of Airport Executives. This certification is earned by passing a comprehensive test encompassing all aspects of aviation, not just finance. Some of those areas are going to be in construction and planning, operations and maintenance, marketing, communications, airspace, noise, land use, and those are just to name a few. So it's a significant amount of aviation in that exam process. I'd like to acknowledge and express my appreciation specifically to the airport leadership team, Kevin and Tyler, for their support, mentorship, and engagement provided to me since day one. They allowed me and encouraged me to be exposed to all things, not just finance. I wouldn't be here today without this. Great things are happening at CCIA, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of that success. Thank you very much for this appointment.
Thank you, Kimberly. Real nice. Now, Kevin's going to give us the update on the airport, and if anybody's been out there recently, there's a lot of construction work happening. Kevin's going to highlight some of that and talk a little bit about their efforts in improving the business to drive costs down and make us a more attractive place for airlines to fly in and out of. That cost per plane passenger is a key benchmark in attracting flights. So Kevin and Tyler have driven that cost substantially down, and he'll give us an update on that as well as some of the capital investments that are happening there. Kevin?
Super. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Council. Mayor Pro Tem, for letting me present this today. Also, just want to thank you for all you guys do. It's a hard job, and I watch you guys every day. I just appreciate the leadership and the Council's guidance, so just want to throw that out there. Okay. Some of the stuff we wanted to share with you today is the key performance indicators. If you can see that graph right there, we are at an all-time high, 354,429 enplanements. That's up 7.5% basically over 2019 numbers. There's some airports in the country that are actually doing press releases saying we're almost back to 2019. So it's a big achievement to be over that. We've reduced our cost per enplanement, as City Manager mentioned, by 37%. As you can see, when Tyler and I got here, it was just over the $15 mark. This is one of the questions, first question the airlines ask us is, what is your cost per enplanement? And so to be able to tell them what it was and what it is and what our goal is a very strong message to the airlines. Parking utilization, again, all-time high. We're going to hit 2.9 million this fiscal year. We really know we'll be over 3 million next year, which is great. The more revenue we can generate from parking, the less the airlines have to pay to operate out of this airport. So it's very important. October 2023 was the highest month on record, and we did award a little over $100,000 in free parking to our disabled veterans, and in accordance with best practices and some state laws. The airport revenue as a whole is at an all-time high. And again, a lot of this has to do with us controlling our expenditures, but also plugging some of those revenue holes that existed when we got here, such as Uber and Lyft not being billed for their services, Turo not being billed for their services, a landing fee implementation that we did that completely changed our landing fee process. So a lot of low-hanging fruit when we got here. Next slide. Some of the key projects, we do have our master plan. It is getting ready to kick off. Kaufman and Associates is the winning bidder, you might remember, and they will be coming down soon. We've got a report that we're going to be sharing with Peter soon about the process and what it's going to look like, but definitely want y'all's involvement. We want the community's involvement, so we'll be looking for some of those town halls at a later date. You know, some of the things in the master plan, as you can see, the solar energy and microgrids, very important. As more and more electric aircraft starts to move this direction, we're going to have to increase the amount of power that we have at the airport. So we're working on that in the master plan too. Terminal rehabilitation, we're in about the middle of completing a 3-year, $25 million terminal, 90% funded by the FAA. New jet bridges, windows, restrooms, outdoor patio, backup emergency power, fire control panel, and a new rental car return entrance. Some of the other key project spotlights, our air service development. We've been working really hard, trying to communicate with airlines at least on a weekly basis, but sometimes on a daily basis to keep us in the forefront of their mind. Met with over 20 airlines in the last year, hosted 5 site visits within the last year. So we've actually had some airlines that don't fly here that have sent their representatives to Corpus to experience different events. So that was really exciting. We've got the competitive air service incentive program, and we're still working on our air service task force, but we're making some good progress there. Restaurant improvements, y'all remember we just passed this. The Tailwinds will be investing $1.6 million into all of the spaces, and those are the businesses that will be out at the airport as well. Just a couple of highlights. The terminal roof and PVC replacement is completely complete. The roof is a nice bright white color now, and it absolutely looks gorgeous. Our new restaurant rooms just opened last week, so we're really happy about the way they turned out. A lot of good feedback from customers as well as employees. And then the outdoor patio is coming out of the ground. They just started putting in some of the spikes for the floor, so we'll be seeing flooring go in hopefully soon. We demolished Hangar 1 finally, and I believe there's a video in that top one if we can play it. Did a little time lapse of the building coming down, but they're cleaning that up, and they're about 95% complete with the cleanup. So very happy to get that out of the way so we can build something new and beautiful for our community. Next, we wanted to share with you a little bit about our Run the Runway event. This was the 3rd year of the event. We took a break during COVID, 2021 and 22. We raised about $6,900 to benefit the USO. And we, like I said, 851 participants. I think we had over 900 that actually registered but just didn't come out because of the weather. It wasn't beautiful, but it was a great event. And then this is also a video just showing the fun that these kids had. It was a lot of fun to watch. 3, 2, 1. All right, take off. anyway, great event. We're gonna hopefully knock it out of the park next year and do it even bigger and better. Poor Lacey, our marketing manager, got here, and I said, we got to run the runway coming up in 6 weeks, and she hit the ground running, and she really pulled it off. So without her, we wouldn't have made it. The last thing I want to share with you guys, we enrolled in a TXU rebate program. It was basically during certain peak hours, we would get a notification saying if you can cut power, we'll give you incentives. So we went through all of the areas, obviously, that weren't being utilized and made sure that all the lights were out. We put automated light occupancy switches in a lot of the offices, in a lot of break rooms and places behind the scenes. A lot of LED lighting that we've installed has helped with this. So basically, we got it down below 25% during those peak periods and got a rebate for $28,982.75. So just kind of a, something we kind of fell into, but it was great for our airport. Happy to answer any questions, give you more details, whatever y'all need.
And then Mayor Pro Tem, if I could just close, when you see success in this business, it's always great to highlight it. And this is a great example of that. I haven't seen it in this comprehensive way, but there's some tremendous turnaround improvement that Kevin and his entire team have done, and it's always good to highlight that to our community and to City Council. And Kevin, I want to thank you and your team for really an excellent job and what has been a turnaround effort in one of our lines of business. We have 29, and this one really needed a lot of attention, given the way it was run prior to 5 years ago. And Kevin, thank you again.
Absolutely.
And I'll turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Peter. With conclusion of the city manager comments, Marina progress is going to be addressed?
Yeah, the Marina is next up. Yeah.
Okay. I have no other comments.
Okay.
Councilman Pusley?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Great report, Kevin, and some exciting stuff going on with our airport. And I know you can't talk about all these details because some of it is negotiations, but any movement on any new airlines or flights coming in and out of Corpus Christi?
We don't have anything concrete to announce. I can tell you that airlines that we have failed to be able to get meetings with at some of these routes conferences, they just don't have time, or they short-staffed and they can only meet with 2 or 3 airports. We've actually started getting phone calls from some of those airlines. We just had one early last week that services the Brownsville area, and they're very interested in the Corpus market. But I mean, overall, we've got some really good relationships being built. One of the airlines said they're waiting for our use and lease agreement to be signed before they would strongly consider it. So we're working on that use and lease agreement. We'll be bringing it to council soon.
Okay.
The airlines should have it. We're waiting on their final comments Friday, but that's going to be another element to move us to the next step. We feel like we've removed a lot of the interior barriers for airlines to come to this community. Now we're kind of waiting for some of those exterior factors to line up, pilots, airplanes.
Right.
But great conversations, but nothing concrete yet.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your work.
You bet.
Councilmember Campos.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to say congratulations on bringing down the energy by 25%. Can you elaborate as to, kind of like what is it that you did to do that?
Yeah, like I said, there were a lot of us that just worked in the dark, I'll be honest with you. We just turned our light off. We had enough natural light that we didn't need it. We made sure that space heaters and space fans were turned off. We had our electrician replace some of those lights with motion sensor so that, if somebody's not using a conference room and they forget to turn the light off, it'll turn off automatically. We did some adjustments to our chilled water plant during that time. It raised the temperature in the terminal about 2 degrees, but nothing noticeable until all the all of the jet bridge doors are left open. We have to remind the airlines to please close the jet bridge doors so we don't let the heat just come through the terminal. But nothing that affected the passengers at all.
The other thing that's what?
Nothing that affected the passengers.
Okay, but just to emphasize that those small things, add up, to big increases or decreases, in this case, to 25%, because you were challenged, you were asked to reduce your energy? Or you just did it because you wanted to do it?
We got an email from TXU. We usually get it about 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and it says to please cut your consumption between the hours of 3 and 6. And so I send that to my managers and say, we've kind of got a process now in place, and say, we're looking to save energy during this time, so please activate the plan.
Well, again, I congratulate you. The other thing that you just said too about the chillers, that even you were able to reduce the amount of the chilling, right, that the energy that it took. So hopefully maybe industry is also looking at that and could reduce their water consumption, in this way. So just throwing it out there.
Thank you. And one of the terminal rehabilitation programs also will replace those chillers to really energy efficient, and we'll be able to make great changes in real time. So it'll be nice.
Thank you, Kevin. Great presentation. Real quickly, the grant that we got last year to incentivize new service.
Correct.
Is that a use it or lose it, or what? It
is. We have 3 years.
Okay.
We're going to be bringing you guys a contract the end of January for an air service development contract. The professional services that help us put these together, they've already got a couple of plans on how we're going to present to the airlines, but we need to make sure they know there's an expiration date on it, and if they don't use it by, I'm going to say it's September 24, then we could lose it. So we've got a year to really get an airline to use that money.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With it being about noon, I'll go ahead and move to item G, public comment. Before we begin, I'll ask City Attorney Miles Risley to review the council meeting rules of decorum. The rules will also be visible on the television, for the television audience. Mr. Risley, please proceed.
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. Individuals will be called upon in the order in which they signed up electronically. In-person public comments will be taken first, followed by virtual public comments. Corpus Christi residents will take precedence over non-residents. For those commenting in person, I'd like to remind everyone that a recording is made of the meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address before beginning your comments. There are 2 opportunities in which you can make public comment on an agenda item. The first is at this present time. The second would be at the time the item is actually heard. Please choose one of the 2 options. Starting off today, we have Kimberly Ballinger.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Thank you for an opportunity to address you today. My name is Kimberly Ballinger, and I live at 8205 Radial Court. I stand before you today as a lifelong member of this community who is eager to contribute to the well-being and ethical standards of our community. I am here to express my strong interest in serving on the Ethics Commission, and I believe my background and commitment make me an ideal candidate for this very crucial role. First and foremost, I am deeply committed to upholding the highest ethical standards in all aspects of public life. I understand the vital role that the Ethics Commission plays in ensuring transparency, accountability, and integrity within our local government. As the daughter of a retired Corpus Christi police officer, it is my firm belief that a strong ethical foundation is essential for fostering public trust and promoting the common good. I bring to the table a wealth of experience and skills that I am well suited for, and I believe the responsibility of an Ethics Commission member. Having a graduate degree in public administration combined with almost 10 years in the public sector have helped me develop a keen understanding of the complexities surrounding ethical consideration in various contexts. My professional experience while employed at the Nueces County Juvenile Probation Department have honed my ability to analyze situations impartially and make fair, informed decisions. Moreover, my involvement as a volunteer and executive board member with the South Texas Council of Boy Scouts of America for almost 15 years, and more recently as a Rotarian, have given me valuable insight into the concerns and expectations of our fellow citizens. I am not only familiar with the diverse needs of our community, but also dedicated to representing those interests with fairness and impartiality on the Ethics Commission. I believe in the power of transparency and public participation. If selected for the Ethics Commission, I am committed to promoting open communication and ensuring that public confidence in the ethical standards of our local government. I am not just seeking a position, I am seeking an opportunity to contribute meaningfully to the continued growth and ethical strength of our community. In conclusion, I am eager to bring my dedication, skills, and passion for ethical governance to the Ethics Commission. I am confident that with your support, I can make a positive impact on the ethical landscape of our city. I appreciate your time and consideration, and am ready to serve. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ballinger. Next up is Carrie Meyer, and the three after her, if you could please make it to the first couple rows, are Catherine Cox, John Weber, and Mina Williams.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, and the City Manager Zanoni. My name is Carrie Meyer, 4401 Gulf Breeze Boulevard. I'm on the Board of Directors of the North Beach Community Association, and our mission is North Beach Community Association shall encourage the development of North Beach, the elimination of unsightly areas, and create a safe and environmentally sound neighborhood. That's why I'm here today. For the past 6 months, since July, we've been in contact with Development Services and Public Works in regard to an existing renovation project that began in July and that the city is allowing to move forward despite many concerns from the neighboring property owners. After reporting our concerns about the project to city staff, we received this email from Al Raymond, Director of Development Services, quote, "The city looks at existing properties as if the structures were built in compliance with the adopted code enforced at that time. So whether it's 1985 or 1995, this site and the existing structures are considered existing non-conforming. Therefore, the parking or lack thereof and the existing structures are in compliance and they are permitted and being renovated." So from Mr. Raymond's email, the city is moving forwards with permitting these structures despite the stated concerns and objections of the community. We have yet to have a meeting with staff or council about this particular project. That's why I'm bringing this to you, because to us, it's precedent setting. If this is allowed to happen here on North Beach in a V zone, velocity zone, it could happen anywhere in the city. This picture, back up one slide, please. This has been the way it looked for the past 15 years. One tenant, one vehicle. An older man lived there who owned the property for 15 years. Next slide. In 2020, his property flooded in Hurricane Hannah, as did many on-the-ground structures on North Beach, which is a flood zone, a V zone, right? Everyone's building on stilts. You can see how the foundation itself is engulfed in salt water. Next slide. This is a FEMA map showing that property in a V zone. Next slide. This is a picture from this year of these structures that are now, according to Development Services, totally fine for being renovated in a flood zone. You can see the back 2 units. Look at the roofs. Next structure, next thing. This is the person who bought it. It says, "We buy houses cash." This is one of those house flippers that comes in, buys slums, renovates them, resells them, or rents them out. Next slide. First thing he did was put on new roofs with no permit, a Sunday special. That was reported to Development Services. They came and issued roof permits. Next slide. This is the back after the roof was put on. Is that the end? Okay. Well, you have the package. You can look at it. This is just one picture of many. This is what your city staff is allowing, and I think not considering what this will do for the future of North Beach, an up-and-coming neighborhood, and also its precedent-setting.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Carrie, can I ask you one quick question? Are you here representing the association?
Yes.
Or are you here individually? Okay.
No.
Representing the association.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Peter, can Development Services staff please meet with the association and
Yeah, I'm not
figure
sure.
out a path forward?
Right, Elmer Abrams has been in constant contact with Ms. Meyer, but we can see if we can get a meeting with them.
Okay, thank you.
He's following the code, the code, state and national and international code, so.
Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
right, thank you. Next up, Catherine Cox.
My name is Catherine Cox, and I live at 4600 Ocean Drive, number 708, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78412. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on what has become a controversial topic in our community, the selection of the new library board. Libraries are essential to our communities and to our democracy, a resource for all who are curious and who want to better understand our world and the human condition. As a former English professor, I have a strong and abiding interest in the future of our libraries. I was surprised and disheartened by the recent decomposition of our city library board, especially because I believe that the process was unfair to some candidates. There appears to be no formal process for selecting this important body. I found nothing on the internet about criteria for the board and little about the process of selection. If the council wishes to demonstrate its own professionalism and its fairness towards all candidates, it should develop a clear and transparent process for selecting board members. The present form leaves a space for applicants to state that their education, professional, and/or community activity. One successful candidate left this area totally blank. How serious or transparent is someone who does not give any information about his or her background? This applicant had, it seems, privately interviewed. Nowhere does the form invite applicants to conduct private interviews or lobby for the position. If conversations are allowed or expected, then that should be stated in the instructions so that all candidates know what to do. That the most qualified candidates were passed over in favor of candidates associated with Moms for Liberty and Citizens Defending Freedom, organizations noted for anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and extreme Christian nationalism, leads me to think that some council members saw an agenda that they liked and ousted those whose credentials were clearly superior. Citizens Defending Freedom states that it wants transparency in government. Currently, neither the candidate nor some members of the council are acting with transparency. Though touting freedom and liberty and, oh yes, transparency, these friends look forward to suppressing free speech, and I fear shaping our libraries in their own image. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. John Weber. And next up after John will be Mina Williams, Venice Schwerick, and Tim Dowling.
John Weber, 609 Naples Street. Trust starts with honesty, part 4. I will be addressing the mayor and city council regarding city-related matters within my constitutional rights, according to the city attorney, section 5J. Once someone has been dishonest, it is impossible to trust them. For the city to regain public trust, the dishonest must leave the organization. The council member states, I was never contacted by any fellow council member on this issue. Next slide. He states again, I was never contacted or responded on this issue or this MOU. The MOU on the agenda for the October 10th meeting was the same MOU that Commissioner Engel emailed Jimmy Welder's revisions to Councilman Pusley on March 15th. Jimmy Welder also emailed it to Miles Risley on the 16th. Next slide. The mayor states the council member Roy was making a statement of fact. Many times in the past, supposed statement of facts are made. They are not actually factual when we look at the evidence. Next slide. March 15th, 9:21 a.m., Councilmember Pusley states, David, the MOU is done. Gil is meeting with Everett this morning at 9 a.m. in attempt to get his support. When Gil met with him yesterday, he was waffling. Commissioner Ingles states, I'm having lunch with Everett today. Next slide. March 15th, 11:17 a.m., Councilmember Roy states, on my way. Commissioner Engel replies, me too. On their way to the Corpus Christi Yacht Club to discuss the MOU. Next slide. Let's step back to March 11th. I will read a text from Councilmember Hernandez to Councilmember Roy. I need to give you an update on the MOU discussion. Please call when you get a chance. Next slide. On March 15th, 7:50 a.m., Councilmember Roy states, I forgot, I have an 8:15 meeting. Can you drop by at 9:45? Councilmember Hernandez responds at 9:04 a.m. stating, no problem. The evidence suggests that Councilmember Roy met with Councilmember Hernandez on March 14th and March 15th, and he also met with Commissioner Engel, who was acting as a surrogate, on the 15th to discuss the MOU. This is the same MOU that was on the agenda on October 10th. I feel badly this new council member got in with the wrong crowd and will have to live with the consequences. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Can I state a statement of fact?
Go ahead, Councilman Roy.
Sir, I want to state this again. The MOU that I stated twice that I had no knowledge of is the MOU that was presented. The MOU that you're talking about from March was actually then taken and it was signed by Charlie Zahn, and it was signed by, I think it was signed by Charlie Zahn, is that correct? So that was the last MOU. There were several versions that floated around. The only version that I was aware of was the one that was signed by Charlie Zahn. When I looked at this MOU, which I didn't keep this information from March, an MOU that failed back in March, it wasn't signed. It didn't have a date. The MOU that you're talking about didn't even have a date on it. It wasn't signed, and it wasn't referenced in terms of what period. It didn't say we're revisiting an MOU from a prior period. So from that standpoint, I had no knowledge of when that MOU was created, and I stand behind the facts that I stated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Roy. Mina Williams.
I'm Dr. Mina Williams, a retired professor of English at Del Mar College. While I know you have busy schedules, and I applaud your diligence in overseeing the city's business.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Can you please state your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 141 Naples Street. In the important matter of choosing library board members, some of you voted for candidates with unproven qualifications and questionable agendas. Libraries, the repositories of books and other forms of written word, have long been the bastions protecting the people's written thoughts, the places where one may go to access the works of diverse writers from all segments of society, including race, religion, political persuasion, alternate agenda identification, and lifestyles. This unique characteristic is what makes libraries the guardians of a free and open society. It is essential that we protect the diversity of thought that is available in libraries, and it matters who makes recommendations in that matter. The argument that young children's access to certain books may corrupt them is specious. Parents must be responsible for what their children read as well as what they watch on TV and access on social media. According to the news reports, while some of the candidates submitted extensive resumes, several new applicants provided skimpy information, and one responded simply, "Concerned citizen." This response was not only inadequate, but should have raised a red flag to you. Concerned about what? Since you made your choices, it has become known that several of the new members are affiliated with extremist religious and political organizations. In retrospect, would it not have been wise to question why so many people with a radical ideology applied for this position? I do not question the candidate's right to apply for this position. I do fault those of you who did not investigate the qualifications and affiliations of the applicants to access their likelihood for bias. This leads me to say that I believe you especially erred in not reappointing Dr. Vicki Natali to the board. I have known her for 40 years and can testify that there is no one more qualified for membership on the library board. Going forward, I urge you to be especially vigilant and focused when considering and evaluation recommendations made by the newly elected library board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Next up is Venice Shorick, and after that will be Tim Dowling, Rachel Caballero, and James Gill.
I'm Venice Shorick, retired Del Mar College professor of mathematics and statistics. I live in District 1 at 5001 Cal Island Drive. Many of your decisions directly affect citizens in ways that make the quality of our physical lives easier and more pleasant. And they're important because they often enhance the physical and the physical aspects of the city. For example, Park Road 22 Bridge. Nice story in the caller this morning. However, of a different magnitude of importance entirely are your choices of who will advise you on important matters regarding the city's library system. What citizen in these reports to credibly explain your reasons, even though you're not obliged to give them, for ousting the 3 board members who expected to be reappointed. One of these 3, Dr. Vicki Natali, was for many years my highly respected colleague at Del Mar College. As a Del Mar statistics professor, it was always such a pleasure for me to observe how meticulous Dr. Natali was in her research. Whether she was reporting to the Board of Regents on a months-long project or a junior faculty member on some lesser request, Vicki, as she was affectionately known at Del Mar, was unfailingly careful, coherent, and unbiased. As much as I appreciate your service to the city, particularly in dealing with its visible aspects, I'm sorry that in this critically important invisible matter of appointments to the library board, you miss the mark. In the future, please be more careful as you select board members. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. Of note, Councilman Barrera has joined us. Next up is Tim Dowling. After that will be James Gill, Maggie Peacock, and Victoria Holland.
Good morning, council members. Good afternoon, I should say. Tim Dowling, 42-year resident of Corpus Christi. I hope it's made its way around to you now. I gave you all a copy of the editorial from the very wise Nick Jimenez that was in the Caller on Sunday. I think you all probably know Nick and recognize what a good and wise man that he is. He says what I can say more eloquently here in my limited time. So I just came from the library board meeting, and I wanted to let you know that it was not good. It was not good at all. The group that you appointed, there are 5 members of Citizens Defending Liberty. And you may recall I told you last week that one of the guys they're really proud of that endorses them is Michael Flynn. What I forgot to tell you last week, I saw in the news the other day, and Michael Flynn got the easiest question in the world to answer. Sir, do you believe in the peaceful transfer of power? I take the Fifth Amendment. Who could not say, yes, I believe in the peaceful transfer of power, but that's their guy. So there were 3 party line votes, and CDF won them all. One of the non-CDF people said, hey, could we discuss the nominees for the chair? Can we talk, get them up and talk about it? Talk about who they are, what they want to do? Nope, that was voted down. Can't talk about them. Okay, so now we're going to elect a chair. So they elected Pat Craig. Ms. Craig wasn't even there. She had a good reason. She was sick, but they elected a person who wasn't even there. We know nothing about her. Then they had to have a vote for vice chair. And the person elected the vice chair was Carrie Moore. And Ms. Moore has been a leader in the effort to restrict books around town. So now you have the decapitated leadership that used to be competent, now run by 2 members of an extremist group. And the person who got defeated both times was a great public servant. That person is Alice Upshaw Hawkins. I'm sure you all know Alice. She's got one of the best hearts and minds of anybody that I know. Mr. Pusley, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Hunter, Mr. Suckley, and one of you I'm forgetting. But another, Mr. Roy, he's not here. You made this a divisive political issue when it did not need to be that way. You've got one more spot coming up in January, which is the Friends of the Library spot. My understanding is that that is a spot that that person nominates and not you. You have a very excellent city attorney, and I would ask you to ask him to look into that to confirm that they get to appoint that spot and not you. I believe that's the case, because you're advertising for that position now, and if that's their spot, you shouldn't be advertising it. I've been watching city council for 42 years. You've made a lot of good decisions. You've made a lot of bad decisions. And this is one of the worst divisive decisions you could have made. I never recall another example where you said, we're going to turn something over to an extremist group. Not well done.
Thank you, Mr. Dowling. Rachel Caballero.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can make a statement of fact here, if we can have City Secretary list the policy on the board positions and who selects the actual board positions.
Well, for that particular appointment, the Friends of the Library nominee, the city code is currently written that all the positions on the library board are, the categories are preferred but not required. So there is, the Friends of the Libraries can make a nominee, and they've nominated an individual, but it is at the council's discretion who they appoint, so you're not bound by that nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Caballero.
Rachel Caballero, 522 Hancock. Hello, elected community members and paid taxpayer-funded city employees. Quick shout out to the community. I just got back from the library meeting, and there was about 45 people, community members there. I applaud our community for showing up and speaking up against, bad behavior. I'm here to talk about 23-1936 regarding a property that looks like you guys are trying to authorize the use of power of eminent domain. But I think the property's for sale. I don't have all the logistics on this, but what I wanted to come here to say is that our city should not be in the business of eminent domain. The port should not be in the business of eminent domain. Neither should the county. So authorization to take a property from and actually this individual who owns this property is out of San Antonio. Weird how things that are improper keep coming out of San Antonio. But we know what these people do is they come in, they buy properties, they let them dilapidate, and then they sell it to the city for a lot of money. At any rate, also on the airport management, Kevin, I think it is, if we can make sure that all the city staffers and their family members are paying for their parking fees, planes aren't delayed, things like that, I think that that would ensure proper, making sure that funding is coming directly to the airport income. And the last thing I want to touch on is we have a very odd city culture where city staffers and city council are praised for being the end-all, do-all. And I'm here to remind you all that you guys work for us. We ultimately decide, and all this decision-making that keeps happening is going to be a result of you not being up there on that dais. Community is first. We're the customer, always. It's not city council. It's not city staffers or sociopaths that feel godlike. We need to remember to treat our community better because that's not happening, and it doesn't happen when people come to pay water bills or when you have to be on the phone for an hour to discuss a complaint on your water bills. We've been catering to industry for so long that we don't even understand that the taxpayers should be the priority and the number one customer. So hopefully we can get on board with that pretty soon, before November, guys. Good luck.
Thank you, James Gill. And next up will be Maggie Peacock, Victoria Holland, and Lamont Taylor.
James Gill, 302 Catalina. I'm going to toss you a softball. I grew up in Corpus Christi with my wife, Sally. We owned and managed Gill Nursery for 44 years. We began our career navigating the early 80s drought. I think that's the worst one that anybody here can remember. With our customers in our community, and there have been a few more droughts since then. It's always hard to get through, watching our green spaces get browner and browner. And then, like a miracle, within 2 weeks of the rains coming and water flowing into our watershed, the city turns green and the drought is in the rearview mirror. When my wife sat on the city's Water Advisory Committee, they helped craft once-a-week watering policy, assuring our community through outreach that we can keep our homes and city landscapes healthy and green with early morning watering once a week. It has been successful because the messaging to the public was educational and positive. In my experience, most people want to conserve water and do what's best for their lawns and landscapes. Today, as we draw closer to Stage 2 water rationing, which restricts lawn watering to every 2 weeks, I encourage city leaders and staff to consult with green industry experts to learn more tools for successful lawn management with less water. As other Texas cities have done, consider offering incentives to households for reducing lawn spaces, planting native plants, and adding rain barrels and other water-conserving practices. Please lead our city through this challenge with educational and informative public service announcements and press releases that help us all navigate today's drought. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Next up is Maggie Peacock.
Hi all, Maggie Peacock, 1773 Ennis Jocelyn Road. This past Sunday, over 80 Corpus Christi locals and residents gathered at the Coastal Bend People's Assembly to discuss challenges like stopping desalination that will harm our neighbors, especially in Hillcrest, and eliminating the current inequitable drought contingency plan that prioritizes corporations over people. The housing justice crisis our city is experiencing, establishing low barrier shelters, providing for our friends who might not have a roof over their heads to go home to, and kicking out city council members that invest in anti-houseless infrastructure, like armrests down bus benches so people can't just lay down, like just harmful infrastructure like that. public education and the attacks on library and school boards by the far-right extremist group Moms for Liberty, and city governance and kicking out city officials who have been here for too long and have gotten nothing done for our community. I want to thank Jim and Sylvia for once again showing up. That's all we ask of all of you, is to show up and listen and to engage with your people. Eddie Canales with the South Texas Human Rights Center invited you all last week during public comment. Also, this past Sunday, many more beautiful community members gathered at another community organized event at Water's Edge Park in solidarity with Palestine. I wanted to share the following statistics gathered by Corpus Christi Palestinian Solidarity Community. It reads, every year, the U.S. government gives at least $3.8 billion to fund
Mayor
Israel.
Pro Tem, this is not a, Palestine's not a city issue.
Well, I wanted to talk about how a lot of our tax dollars, like what Corpus Christi city residents, like our tax dollars are going to.
Please keep it directed at city.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, that's my intention. I was going to leave it back to that. Anyways, U.S. funds Israel. And specifically here in Corpus, about $4,288,284 of Corpus Christi residents' tax dollars are funded to this. Like, that's what I was going to. Anyways, that money that our tax dollars are going to specifically could go to stuff here in Corpus, like households with public housing for a year, children receiving free or low-cost health care, elementary school teachers, households with solar electricity produced for a year, students with loan debt canceled. I had all these statistics about how our tax dollars specifically in Corpus Christi could be invested in here in our community. That's all I was trying to say. So thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Peacock. Victoria Holland. After Victoria will be Lamont Taylor, Adam Rios, and Dan Davidson.
Hello, I'm Victoria Holland, 235 Ohio Avenue. I'm here today to thank council for the important work that you do. I just want to say that although, everyone's going to be annoyed at one thing or another, I've been deeply impressed with the work this council has done, moving important projects forward with common sense as their guide. Getting housing for seniors in District 1, charting a path forward with Barisi Village closer to the university, beneficial community amenities in Southside are all really important things that help drive the city forward. It may seem small, but these are the things that will affect people's day-to-day lives. I also want to say that even regarding issues that, stirs up some controversy, I'm proud of this council for staying the course, hewing close to the values of the citizens of this community. I will say it's a deep shame that grassroots efforts to educate citizens on city actions, board openings, and educate council through open comment has been mischaracterized as something ugly or something wrong. I'll also say, though, that while we all disagree on issues, or sometimes not even the issues, the nuances of the issues, I'll say, I can't help but believe that there is, once again, a common sense path forward, and that if we are all willing to engage with each other in a civil way, in a way that actually makes sense, that doesn't necessarily fling crazy accusations at other groups, that we can all figure out what we're trying to do together. Again, I've seen this council time and time again do exactly that. I know you don't always all agree, but I see that you're pushing the city forward, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Holland. Lamont Taylor.
Good afternoon, Lamont Taylor, 522 Hancock. Approaching on two counts. First, agenda item O31. The property that's in discussion is in a historic area, and it's a historic building. As a matter of fact, it is one of two of the remaining buildings in Corpus Christi that been here since, I would say, the 20s. So we're trying to make sure that we get some funds to make sure we can bring that building back up to par. The last thing that had occurred over in that area was Washington School Building, and the city thought best to tear that building down where we thought it could be renovated and provide more access to the individuals over in that area. It appears to us that Citizens Alliance for Fairness and Progress is that the city is trying to wipe out a historically neighborhood, which is African-American neighborhood that's been there since after the 1919 flood. And so we're trying to revitalize that particular area because it connects to your C district. Being an urban planner, I can see the nexus between that particular district and City Hall, all coming up Alameda. But what I see is individuals are trying to take care and take out a historical area in the city of Corpus Christi. The second item that I'm bringing that is not on the agenda, however, it was on the port agenda this morning, was 14B, which is an opportunity for the city to exchange property with the Port of Corpus Christi. And that property happens to be in the Hillcrest neighborhood. So in essence, another slight against the neighbors in Hillcrest is trying to put together the desalinization program. So in essence, we know that the desalinization, you call it Inner Harbor, we call it Hillcrest. So we're constantly looking at what you guys are doing. I hope that they bring that information to you guys as far as that exchange of property. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next up, Adam Rios, and then Dan Davidson, Jose Mendez, and Priscilla Cambrick.
Adam Rios, 7301 Tangled Ridge Court. Mission statement, Pony Boy Skateboard Company Clothing. We strive to create a brand with unifying principles and properties in a way that can take roots within the community. I'm here to talk about something unique that happened in Corpus fairly recently, the Turtle Bay Powwow. And I want to just share with you what my experience was at this event, this incredible cultural event, and what I saw in the dance arena or in the circle. It's an opportunity for folks to socialize, dance, and sing, to honor their cultures. What you see is you witness the solidarity and the differences we share, whether they be religious or social in nature. You hear prayers for different higher powers and see these differences honored, all while people are holding hands in a round dance and songs are being sung, all giving thanks, all sharing. We shared our experiences. We reconnect with old friends. We make new friends. It's at a powwow that you can educate future generations. These gatherings are meant to respect Indigenous culture, and as my father to this day still says, it's a chance for everyone to know that what the world needs is a little Indian medicine. Regarding current events, there are organizations that claim to be advocates for true and accurate history to be taught regarding race, inequality, especially amongst Native Americans. It's hard for me as a business owner and a citizen to embrace this ideology if it is rooted in politics. If having a difference of opinion or even presenting science as fact causes such outrage from that opposition, then where is the discourse? If the last banner you have is to just spew out labels of opposition, calling people Marxists, communists, saying that their ideology is in line with China, that we have but one God, it's insulting. To this organization, I extend this invitation. As a chartered member of the American Indian Movement Central Texas chapter, I invite you to one of our meetings, one of our powwows, and we'll talk with you about what government overreach is and what it can do. God bless you. Washte aho.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Dan Davidson.
Hi, my name is Dan Davidson, 15641 Cruiser Street. I'd like to talk about three issues. The first is the replacement of the library board members with an obvious political agenda from a list put forward by Everett Roy. At a minimum, lack of due diligence by the other council members. Carrie Moore works for an organization that's LGBTQ, and according to their website, Melinda de los Santos is a member of the Election Integrity Project that is waiting for a quote, WMD from Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. Dolores Rabone doesn't seem to have any relevant credentials beyond concerned citizen. This is the kind of thing that can happen in a town of a couple thousand, but we're a couple 100,000 people, and we deserve competence, not cronyism. The second item that I'd like to talk about is the dog park on the island. It's bad enough that the city doesn't financially support one of the most used public park resources on the island, but now appears to be throwing up roadblocks to improvements by foot dragging and refusing agreements longer than a year, despite no opposition from any actual stakeholders that I've heard about. It's been theorized that this has to do with the island's strong opposition to Proposition A, which brings me to the third issue. I can't speak for everybody, but I would have voted for anything that went towards park maintenance, road maintenance, et cetera. But when only 15% of the money appears to be earmarked for that, and 85% is unknown, possibly going towards expanding the money-losing convention center or a new hotel, new private hotel, it's simply bad for the city. There aren't even any direct flights, and all the roads and parks, and if there aren't any direct flights, and all the roads and parks leading to the convention center look like third world, it's a terrible first impression no matter how nice the actual convention center is, and it's actually pretty nice right now. Experience in other large cities has proved that these supposed keystone projects are really just giveaways to big business and don't improve city economics significantly. But when people come to a town and they're like, hey, this is a nice area, clean, good parks, I want to move my business here, that's what makes an actual difference long term. Thank you.
Mr. Davidson, stating a fact on the dog park, I've actually, as a District 4 council member, been working with staff and with the president of that board of the dog park, Mr. Colosi, and with the founder, Mr. Rankin, and I've spoken to them both in the last week, and they're satisfied with where we're at now. So appreciate your comments.
I appreciate that.
This is up next.
Good evening. Jose Mendez, 5817 Crestford. I'm here to thank you for sitting in that hot plate. I know that there's many items that are coming up because as our city has been in development lately, after being ignored for 30 or 40 years, I know that you're going through a lot of hard work. I'm here to speak about the veterans, for the veterans, and I'm a World War II veteran, and I'm very concerned about what we're going to be able to do in Shell Park. It's the only park important to me that is left after losing the Memorial Coliseum. And then we lost the USO building that is not the Art Center. And now we have the Shell Park. And I've had a little problem with finding if the Shell Park is a memorial park or an industrial park. Are we going to put any heavy equipment there? Or are we going to preserve it as a memorial park? I'm waiting for a list of texts from the coastal band where there's going to be 250,000 names. And I don't want nobody left out. I want, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. The city can capitalize on preserving the park. And I don't have anything against helicopters or submarines. The submariners are my friends. I know that what they went through, and in fact, I would like a complete submarine over in Corpus, not just a tail or whatever. But it's a place. We should place the helicopter, the submarine, next to the over there in North Beach, the Lexington. That should be the area. In fact, there's not enough area to display everything that need to be displayed to honor our own veterans. And I don't know if you have been to New Orleans. I'm a short member of the New Orleans Historical. And it's, I'm sure the city of Corpus Christi will capitalize on helping us promote this. I'm very disappointed that many people don't much care about us veterans. In fact, we were mistreated when we came back. And I would like to see our city be promoted, or the coastal band is constructed of 14 counties, and there's more than 250,000 veterans in that area, I'm sure. I just visit Chuy Hinojosa's office, and he's supposed to help me try to bring up all those names that are. It bothers me that many names. I lost 16 of my schoolmates in the war, and I don't see their names there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mendez. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Priscilla Cambrick.
Obviously, I'm not Ms. Cambrick. I'm her attorney, Mr. Manning, Matt Manning.
Okay.
We are number 31 on the agenda. She signed up erroneously, so she's going to withdraw her request for public comment, and we'll address it in earnest then.
At 31.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Moving on to, we have one WebEx, that's Jesse Lopez.
Mr. Lopez?
Corpus Christi?
Sir?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr.
Oh,
Lopez.
did you hear me?
Now we can. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
okay.
go ahead and state
Oh, okay,
your name
great.
and address and go? Thank you.
My name is Jesse G. Lopez. I live on 6813 Old Square Drive, 78414 here in Corpus Christi. I'm speaking on the subject of Ethics Committee candidacy for Kimberly Ballinger. And I want to give a little bit of my background. My background is I'm retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, Corrections Specialist, JAG Investigator, Mexican Liaison, Representative of the United States in Mexico, and Baja California. Upon working for Nueces County Juvenile Probation when we opened the Juvenile Boot Camp in 1995, which is, I believe, about 20, 25 years ago, which is how long I've known Kimberly Ballinger. And I started working as a therapeutic specialist with the juveniles and also with the parent groups. My experience with Kimberly, Ms. Ballinger, when she started working with me as my assistant, conducting those sessions and also interacting with the juveniles at a facility, have all been, especially in this particular program that she's involved with now, in the ethics committee candidacy, is like, I believe she would make an excellent representative for our city and for our community, because of the way that she has conducted herself in the last 20 to 25 years that I have known her as a professional, and also as a human being, able to be empathetic with everybody's concerns and needs, and also with her level of leadership and how she has represented the community. Her ability and her education, which speaks volumes in itself, has demonstrated not only to me, but to various members of the community that we have served, and as that she is a qualified professional, extremely capable in leadership, and extremely capable of demonstrating a high level of ethics and personal integrity. As she is also a representative for a community in the job that she holds as in the business that she conducts with USCCA, where she empowers not only young women, older women, people from all different types of cultures, in protecting themselves, in being able to instruct concealed carry classes, and give people education and the ability to protect themselves, whatever needed.
Thank you very much.
Again,
Mr. Lopez, thank you so much for your comment. Your time is up.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. We have two other to comment, both outside the city limits. So they're limited to 1 minute. Next up is Kathy Fulton.
Hello to the council. My name is Kathy Fulton, and I live in Port Aransas, Texas. And the reason I'm here is because last Tuesday, a week ago, a vote was taken to reappoint Rajan Ahuja to the Port of Corpus Christi. However, I'm here to raise issue with that vote because the original motion, the very original motion, was not actually voted on. It was somehow all that back and forth, it got skipped, which makes that vote, because that was the vote that opened up the power to the floor for nominations. Because that vote didn't happen and wasn't taken, therefore, the opening up of the nominations was not valid. So, in my opinion, and according to Robert's rules and to parliamentary protocol, y'all need to have a special meeting, redo that vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. Mr. Risley, could you let us know if this vote was actually taken, like she is saying? I mean, was the vote taken legally, or how would?
Ms.
I mean, she's
Campos?
raising the issue.
Councilwoman Campos,
Yes.
I would like to address Ms. Huerta. Can you
Well-
validate that our vote was taken properly, Ms. Huerta?
The vote was taken properly. It was, what's the word? It was taken properly. Also, there is a provision in our council policies that states that Robert's Rules of Order is a parliamentary procedure, but it's not a legal procedure per se. It's just a way for us to go through to make appointments. But if it isn't followed for some reason, then it doesn't disvalidate the vote or unvalidate the vote. So.
All right.
The vote is still valid.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Huerta.
Mayor Pro Tem, the reason that I mentioned Mr. Risley is because I did go ahead and call the TML, and I asked who would be the appropriate person when this issue was raised. And when I called, because this is a charter-ruled city, I was redirected, because I had already asked Ms. Huerta, and I was redirected to Mr. Risley. That's why I'm asking for his comments or for his answer.
Have you brought this to his attention prior to this, or is this?
No, I'm doing this now publicly, transparently.
Okay, Mr. Risley.
The principle that was stated by Rebecca is correct. The Robert's Rules of Order needs to be invoked during the voting procedure as a point of order. in order to raise an issue then in relation thereto.
But if the vote was taken inappropriately, or is that vote still valid? Like this commenter just raised the issue?
The time to raise a Robert's Rules of Order question is during the voting as a point of order. That's the purpose of the procedure. It's not proper to bring up a Robert's Rules of Order question after the voting has concluded and the chair of the meeting has made his or her ruling.
All right, so we missed our chance during that voting process, even though it was pretty messy, and it was an important vote. So I guess live and learn.
All right, thanks, Ms. Campos. Moving on to Charles Boone.
I'm Charles Boone. I live at 468 Sunset in Ingleside in the Bay, Texas. San Patricio County, I agree with Ms. Fulton. There was a motion on the floor that wasn't voted on. Maybe you should have called a point of order to vote on the motion that was on the floor. And so it seemed to us that it was improper in the appointment of the Port Commissioner, and you ought to go back and redo it. Also, there's a climate vulnerability index that shows how cities are doing concerning air quality, water quality, et cetera. There's a public meeting at the Community Center in Aransas Pass, 700 West Wheeler, tomorrow night at 6, and it'll go over the data that's applicable both to Corpus Christi and to San Patricio County. So hope we see you there. You all back there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boone.
Mr. Pro Tem, I'd like to go back just a second on that question about the motion that was, we voted on that motion. Because I remember stopping Rebecca and saying that there was a motion on the table and we had to vote on it, a motion and a second, and we did, and it failed.
No, what happened is I'd made the motion, it was second, and then you brought up the point of order, but it had already been seconded by me, and your point of order should not have been considered.
My point of order was that we had to vote on it because you made the motion and there was a second that was on the floor and we voted on it and it failed.
Okay, and I believe.
And it's not proper for us, you and I, to debate this in open session.
Well, you're the one that keeps bringing these issues up during. Okay, and I'm making a point
All
as
right,
well.
Let's conclude this conversation with, we got Mr. Risley's interpretation, should have been addressed last week. I don't think there was any confusion of the council of the outcome of that vote last week. So as he advised us, it should have been addressed last week. So we're moving on to item H, board and committee appointments.
Well, sir, we still have the city manager's report.
I'm sorry, we'll revert back to the Marina update. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we're going to have Jonathan Atwood, our municipal marina manager, present this. And Councilman Pusley and others, when we were developing the budget, we talked about, or actually when we awarded the contract, when council approved the contract for the boat haul-out facility, as well as the boaters facility, two different facilities, the council asked that we bring these designs back to City Council so you can see them as we continue in the progress of designing them. And so this presentation does two things. One, it gives an update on progress at the marina, but two, we're going to show you the architectural renditions of these two important facilities. The boat haul-out facility, which is right at the edge of Cooper and Shorelines, the former shoreline, and then on the same drive, the boaters facility. Both brand new buildings, both are fully funded for design and construction, and both architects are in the audience with us today if there's any comments or questions.
We don't have a quorum here, so
okay.
We lost too many members.
Let's see, we have four council members.
Yeah, you can still do a presentation.
We can still do a briefing, okay?
We can still do a briefing, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we're going to continue with the briefing. Jonathan's going to lead the briefing.
All righty, thank you, Peter. Good morning.
City Council members, Mayor Pro Temp. Jonathan Atwood, Marina Manager, and we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so I want to point out the 5 projects that we currently have in the works, starting with the dock replacement project. And if you all go down there right now, you'll see they're already demolishing and starting construction on docks A and B, and they should start dredging here in the near future. And then we've got the Marina Master Plan that is going as well. We're about 60% complete with that. In fact, I have a meeting with several of the stakeholders coming up this week. And then we're going to jump into the other 3 projects here. So total for marine improvements, we've got $46 million slated for marine improvements over the next couple of years, and one of those projects is already moving forward into construction. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is the new Cooper's Head boater facility and parking lot resurfacing. This design, excuse me, was started this summer. It's estimated to complete in spring of 2024, and we're currently about 50% complete. So we did the 30% review on the structure here not too long ago. This new facility will include public restrooms. So we're going to have 6 stalls. 4 of those will be in the women's restroom, 2 of those stalls, and 2 urinals will be in the men's public restroom. This will be quite a few more, as we currently only have one stall and 1 urinal in the men's public restroom and 2 stalls in the women's restroom. Tenant restrooms will include 4 combo shower and toilet stalls. We currently only have 1 of those, 1 men and 1 women's in the current facility. And this landmass has seen extensive growth over the last few years with the replacement of docks RST and U in 2015, which are quite full at this point, and we don't really have the space in this facility for those tenants or the sailing regattas that are often hosted down here on Cooper's Head. So this facility will really bring those standards as far as the restroom facilities and the meeting space up to what we need, both to host those events and for our current tenants. So we also have that large meeting room, a laundry room facility, which will have an ice machine, workspace, workroom, and a storage room below. Next slide, please. And here are 2 of the renderings showing this facility. Richter Architects has done a great job. They've added a unique feature with this roof, which kind of looks like the wind blowing or the waves in our bay. I think this will have a substantial improvement to the look of the L head landmass, as well as the amenities that we can provide for the tenants and the public. Something else we've looked at doing is adding the green space, something that is missing on the L head other than a small area right in front of the yacht club. So we're hoping to bring that onto that landmass and really make an impression. So this is right as you come around the corner past Jane's L head, Jane's Bait Sand, headed towards the boat ramp. Next slide, please. And then I'm going to talk about the haul-out facility and new marina office. This design started at the same time, summer of 2023. We're expected to complete it in spring of 2024, and it's about 50% complete as well. The marina office is currently in the Lawrence T. Head Boater facility, and that facility was never intended to be a marina office. It's intended to be a space for the marina tenants to use. So by building this new facility, we'll be plugging the marina office into that facility and be able to give that boater facility back to the marina tenants. We'll also have some retail and marine vendor space. This will accommodate current marine vendors that are in our boatyard, as well as a small retail space for my intention is a small coffee shop or something along the seawall there that will work for both our residents here, people that come in and visit, transient boaters, anybody walking along the seawall. It's directly across from Cheryl Veterans Memorial Park. So I just think it's going to be an excellent location for a space like that. This will include our staff break room and a conference room that is currently missing in the marina. Anytime I have to hold meetings, it's often taking over the other people's boater facility or trying to find space in the city to hold meetings. And travel for our storage for a travel lift. Travel lift is a big part of the maintenance on the vessels in the marina. The fact that this marina has that, the nearest location pull-out a vessel would be the other side of Corpus Christi Bay. So if you have an emergency situation or you need to get boat maintenance done, we are the only option, only place with a travel lift that can do that right here in downtown Corpus Christi. And we also have workspace and equipment storage. So we have a lot of equipment that we use to maintain the marina, over 500 slips, as well as workspace for our marina staff to be able to work and use that equipment, work on projects here in the marina. Next slide, please. And these are some renderings of that building. So this will be right on the corner of Cooper's Alley as you're driving down onto the L-head across from the Yacht Club and the old Shoreline Drive. And Turner Mears has done a great job on this building. I think it's really going to stand out, really going to be a centerpiece for that corner, and a much needed upgrade for that facility. Next slide, please. Moving on to the People's Boardwalk. This project will replace the wood structure boardwalk that you can still see part of it down there with the new concrete structure. Design of the boardwalk is at 100%. We're finalizing bid documents and project phasing, working with Harrison's Landing. We want to try to keep that restaurant in operation during this project, to work with them as close as we can. And then we're also waiting on the Army Corps of Engineers permit, because this structure will be in the water, so that requires us to get that permit from the Corps of Engineers. So we have had good communication with them. We're hoping that will take much less time than the dock project did. Next slide, please. And here are two renderings for that new boardwalk. So this will be a similar structure to the Cole Park Pier, where we're going to have a concrete structure, but we're going to have composite decking to have that boardwalk feel down the length of the boardwalk. We'll have also added handrails, and we will have 28 slips for commercial vessels, transient vessels, and provide that walkway down people's T-head stem. So it's a main access point to get down to the end of the T-head there, get down to the restaurants, the boat slips. And it was a well-traveled access point, as most of you know, from the Selena Memorial statue there. Next slide, please. So I'll talk a little bit about the timeline. So the dock replacement project has been in the works for quite a while now, and we finally moved into the construction phase of that. And that construction phase will take about 2 years to be completed in summer 2025. But we went through the entire process of, developing that design RFP, releasing it, getting that design contract approved, going through the design, and then what took the majority of the time for this project was that Army Corps of Engineers permitting. Took about 1.5 years. We're very thankful to get that earlier this year and move into construction RFP and getting a new construction contract approved and finally getting to that construction. And I'm really excited about that project. I think it's really going to change the face of the marina, the look of downtown as you get down there on the seawall. Replacing a third of the slips in the marina. So from a business perspective, this is going to give us access to slips that have been damaged for quite a while and be able to generate more revenue for the marina. Next slide, please. So the other two projects we have on the timeline here are the L-head Cooper's Boater facility and the haul-out facility. Both of those started with the design RFP released earlier this year. We got a design contract approved this summer, and we're currently in design. Like I said, we're about 50% complete on both those designs, and we should be complete with those spring of 2024, and then we can move into construction RFP. Next slide, please. And then we've got the Marina Master Plan, which we are currently in the works on right now. I know many of you have been a part of that. We just finished the community survey for this project, and that has been submitted to the design firm. They have been poring over all that information, and I think they have some really neat ideas. We've had bi-weekly meetings for the last couple of months. I've really stayed in touch with them and worked through this project, and I'm excited to see what they have on the page. And then People's Boardwalk. As I mentioned before, we actually started that design in spring of 2022, or summer of 2022, and boardwalk design was complete actually earlier this year, and then we moved into that permitting process with the Army Corps of Engineers. That has been the one thing we are waiting on, but has given us some time to work through some of that project phasing with Harrison's Landing, getting all the design documents put together and make sure we're ready to move forward with this project once we get that permitting in place. Any project that you do in the water when it comes to pilings, and this project specifically is going to be right along the street there on People's T-head, so we've got to make sure we've got traffic control in place, that we're thinking through this project in all aspects, trying to keep Harrison's Landing open during this project, and just anything that goes along with that. We've also got marina tenants. This is going to be directly across from docks G and H, so we have to think about the inflow and outflow and the ability to allow those tenants to have access to those docks as well. So this project has taken a lot of work, but we're excited to get close to construction. And next slide, please. And if y'all have any questions, I'm available.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah. Jonathan, thank you very much. Great report. Could we go back on your slide presentation? Let's see if I can tell you which one it is. Yeah, the back. Keep going to. Keep going there. Well, yeah. Okay. So what is the main purpose of this facility?
So the purpose of this facility is to provide restrooms for both the public and the tenants, and a meeting space or a space to get out of the weather for
So when you
the
say tenants, what tenants are you expecting here?
all of our tenants that keep boats in the marina. So all the tenants on the L-head.
Okay.
Docks RST and U.
So this will have a
and,
meeting space, I'm assuming upstairs, it'll have restrooms and showers
Yes, sir.
for them to utilize. Well, what else are we thinking is going to be?
Yeah,
I mean, this
so-
is a large facility, I'm just,
Yes, sir. So this facility is right at 3,346 square feet, okay? Some of that is the fact that due to the flood plain, we had to raise it 15 feet. So we ended up with quite a bit more space, but that's not a bad thing because underneath we've been able to utilize that space for storage. We're also going to have a small workspace in there. There are many marinas up and down the coast that provide a workspace for tenants to come in and do small items for their vessel, you know, off the vessel, off the docks. And it's also going to be a small storage and workspace for the marina. And depending on the phasing of this project with the haul-out project, I'm intending to utilize some of that storage space to store some of our equipment, golf carts and things, because I intend this project will probably take less time than the haul-out project.
and the bait stand is not going to be impacted by this at all?
Correct. This is behind them. This is just east of that bait stand.
Okay.
So it should not impact it. And we are working on, there's a lift station directly west of it, and that's what that fence is currently covering in the picture. We're going to work on dressing that up, cleaning up that area around there.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful facility and obviously will be a great addition to our L-head. And I've said for a long time, our T-heads and our L-head are the most underutilized asset that we have in this city. I just get a little concerned when we talk about storage space because, and I'm the world's worst. I mean, I go rent storage buildings and store stuff for 10 years and then open it up and throw it all away. So I just want us to be certain that we're utilizing this storage and keeping track of what we're doing there, and it doesn't end up being a junk space for.
For sure, for sure. And if I'll say, we can't put any type of livable space in the lower level due to the floodplain. So we're very limited on what we can use it for. But rather than just leaving the entire first floor open, we've got to have that structure to hold it up, but we also can utilize that space to get some of the equipment out of the weather.
Okay, good deal. This is exciting and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hernandez, please.
Okay, this is more a question for our city manager. Peter, these seems like, part of your report, they seem like briefings. And I think maybe these should be listed as briefings as opposed to part of your report.
Okay.
In terms of presentation, I mean, I'd rather get to the meat of the council where we're voting on people. We've got people waiting for voting, and we're getting briefings at the front on the front
Okay.
end when they probably should be at the back end. But if you have something long like this where you have one of your department heads briefing us on what's happening, I think it should probably be in the briefing section.
Okay, good
Okay.
input.
Thank you.
Jonathan, my only question, great presentation, by the way. With respect to what's up on the screen right now, I was looking at the design work done by Mr. Ramirez's group. Obviously it's been windstorm engineered and everything, but those big wavy, essentially flat roofs, what a hurricane would those withstand? Obviously being on the bayfront, just a matter of time till we have a big storm. So
Correct. And this facility is actually designed by Richter. I will need to confirm the exact hurricane that it can withstand, but I mean, they're designing it to withstand the VE velocity zone down here on the bayfront, and I'm sure building it to the highest standard that we can from the discussion I've had with them. But I can get you the exact numbers on that if needed.
Okay, thank you. Peter, moving on to the budget.
Okay, great. We have one more briefing for Councilman Hernandez and others, and then this is, I'll try to go through this quickly, but it's our fourth quarter financial report. I am required by the city charter to provide quarterly briefings to the city council, and the briefing's a condensed version of the actual report that you'll get later today. The same report that is, well, it's a pretty thick report, is online as of later today, and it's been our practice for many years to place this online, so everything is very transparent and disclosed.
Peter, could you
Yes, sir?
bring your microphone?
Oh, sure
closer to
can.
you?
Yes, sir. Okay, so we do have a presentation that's being passed out and the one on the screen. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So this is our not only the fourth quarter from the prior fiscal year, that would be the months of July through September, but this is in a sense a year-end closeout for fiscal year 23. We know that began October 1 in 2022 and it goes through September 31st, 2023. The numbers that you're going to see today are preliminary, unaudited, and on the next slide, to get to our annual audit on our financial report, that process began in October with some review of the year-end process, and then we finalize the initial year-end closeout by December. Our auditor is under contract under a 5-year agreement, so Weaver from the Houston area will complete the annual audit, and it's ultimately presented to the audit committee first and then the full city council in some form in March of 2024. So on the next slide, this is our general fund revenues. There's a lot of material here, but if we look at that bottom line total, our revenues were budgeted for last fiscal year at $307 million. During the summertime, when we were working on the budget for 24, we estimated $312 million. And so we closed out the year a little bit better at $315 million. That difference of $3.8 million is from better sales tax, $1.4 million, and other revenues. Two of the most notable include a LIF fund, loan repayments from the COVID days, and then an increase in our fair value of our financial investments. We reflect that on our books, and so that shows or totals the 3.8 better ending balance than what we estimated this summer. Now, the other side of the equation is our expenditures on the next slide. And here, if we look at the bottom line total again, because that does include some of the carry forwards, we budgeted $340 million last fiscal year. In the summertime, we were estimating we would come in around $329 million, and we closed the year preliminarily at $330 million. So a little bit over the estimate, but still under the budget by about $10 million. And most of those savings are from salary savings from vacancies, about $7 million. If you exclude all the salaries within our budget, we spent 99% of the other parts of the budget, so commodities, capital outlay, that type of thing. So we spent 99%. The savings was in salary savings. Okay, let's turn next to this slide, which has a lot of material, but we're real cognizant of, as our financial advisors are, of our ending fund balance. And so this just walks us through the steps. When we closed this year, we would have been at $98 million ending fund balance in the general fund. But an important note, this summer, a planned drawdown was put in place as part of the budget development for FY24. And so we spent $27 million of this $98 million this summer when we planned the budget for 24 that began October 1. So essentially, our ending fund balance is at $65 million as we look into the fiscal year 24 budget. And, excuse me, $71 million when we look at the ending year, and the goal is around that area. So we've spent a lot of this money as planned, and we're just slightly above that 20% goal that the City Council has established in our budget financial policies. Okay, this slide, next slide here shows one thing we track in addition to our expenditures and revenues is our actual progress. So in the 23 budget, we had 127 budget initiatives, and 116 of those were either completed or scheduled to be complete in the coming weeks. And so just 11 initiatives are a little behind schedule. They're still in progress, still being worked on. But as you can see, the vast majority were completed. And so a few things here. The Economic Development Director, it's part of our recruiting challenges to attract talent here to the Coastal Bend area. The Flower Bluff Dog Park had to be re-scoped because the initial design came in over budget. And a few other things here. We're working with the GLO and some of these beach initiatives. And then the final couple, I'll deal with work on Ocean Drive. We're working with engineers to make sure we get things appropriately designed. Okay, so that was the general fund. We're going to turn next to, on the next slide, our hotel occupancy tax fund, which is a pretty big deal for us here in the city. And yes, somebody have a question?
We don't have a button to press. I'm sorry. I was raising my hand. Sorry, you said we are having trouble finding, can you go back a slide, whoever's in? For the Economic Development Director, we're having trouble finding somebody?
Yes, sir. Yeah, right now we're using a national recruiter.
Because of what reason?
For numerous reasons, but one, and that job itself is a tough one to fill in Texas. Many big cities are either, because of retirements or what have you, trying to fill an Economic Development Director. And then those are some of the reasons.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also had a question about this section. Dan.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Peter, the economic development, is that a city employee, or is that you're talking about somebody who's going to run the EDC?
No, sir. This is a city employee. So 2 budgets ago, we created for the first time an economic development department with the city council's concurrence in the budget. And this position is the director of that department. And so we've had Heather has been our interim director for this past year.
Okay.
And it's just a challenge in the state, maybe even
This was to help us focus on helping small to mid-sized businesses. This is not to be
correct,
competing
Councilman.
with the EDC.
That's absolutely correct. Yes, sir.
All right. And then the other question is, with respect to can you tell me a little bit on the behind schedule projects here, the Ocean Drive Sustainability Program?
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so that one, we know that 3 years ago, we resurfaced the entire length of Ocean Drive.
Right.
And it was some $12 million. It's one of the best driving surfaces in the city. And so in the budget subsequently thereafter, we said, let's put $100,000 to make sure we address small things that happen along the roadway so it continues to have a favorable road surface. And so work has to be performed in certain areas where there's some cracks, where there's been some street cuts, where pavement surface is now not as smooth. So Ernie, our Public Works Department, who has been focused on the rapid paving program, has to get to this still.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it was brought to my attention, and I think I mentioned it to one of the staff members here a month or so ago, that I had received a call from someone who lives in in the Ocean Drive area, and said that when we did that repaving project,
right,
that we should go back and look at the handicap accessible sidewalk issues along Ocean Drive. So is
Okay.
that in the plans?
I'm not, it may be, Councilman, I'm not aware that it is.
Okay,
but-
could you, I never got a response back, so could you check and let me know, please?
Sure, no problem.
So I can respond appropriately. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's go forward a slide here on our hotel occupancy tax. The top part of this chart shows our budgeted revenues and our actual revenues. So we estimated a little bit higher this summer of 21 million. We actually came in at 20 million for the revenues, which still is above the budgeted amount. And then when you look at our expenditures on the bottom, we came under budget, a little bit over the estimate, but still under budget. So this operation continues to be financially sound. Our last 2 funds here on the next slide. Last 2 starts with our water fund. This is a very important one. And the next I'll show you in a moment is our wastewater. But on this one, the upper graph shows the revenues. So we did better than the estimate that we thought this summer, and we did better than the budget and the revenue collections, despite the fact we were in stage 1 water restrictions all summer. So we ended the year at 144 million on the revenue side. On the expense side, we came in just about at the estimate right on at 146.5 million, which is below the budget. And the reason here is similar in the general fund, salary savings, and as well as due to doing more in-house work on some of our repair projects, we saved 1.3 million. So that's the difference in there on the expense side. And then on the next chart, we show our companion fund, the wastewater fund. And so the revenues came in just a little bit better than the estimate, 83.6 million compared to 82, and about 1.5 better. And then on the expense side, savings over the estimate as well as over the budget. And similarly to the water side, this is due to salary savings as well as 1.2 million in savings due to using less chemicals in some of our processes. Okay, so on the next chart, Councilman Pusley and others asked for ending balances, and we do have that. It's in the financial report that's published every month, or every quarter, I'm sorry, but this is a kind of an excerpt of it. There's a lot of material to digest here, but if you look at the far right two columns, it's the net ending balance for each of the funds listed, and it takes into consideration we already utilized some money in the '24 budget. So in our general fund, 71 million ending balance. The reserve policy is 61 million. So we're not too far off over there. Remember, it was as high as 90 million, 95 million. On the water side, 45 million is what we end the year with after using some in the budget, and the 25% goal is 36 million. The wastewater fund, 37 million. That one has a little bit of a stronger fund balance compared to the nearly 20 million that's required by policy. And then in our stormwater fund, 12 million ending balance compared to the nearly 6 that we should have. And we knew this going into the budget. That's why we did not have we didn't have a rate increase that we had planned. We had one, but we didn't have it as high, being mindful of the fund balance. And then our gas fund, the 25% goal is 8.4 million, but in this operation was slightly below that at nearly 7 million. You can see the fund balances for some of our other enterprise or special revenue funds, the hotel occupancy, the state hotel occupancy, our street fund, and our residential street fund. None of those have a reserve policy set by council. So those are just a few of the funds, but in the financial report is the detailed listing of all the funds with all the ending balances, and that has been consistently provided for many, many years. Okay, so in our final couple of slides here, the capital program is another big side of our business, and if we look at the last two bond program projects, you can see we're making great progress. So bond 2022, the most recent, has 32 projects. All of them are under design, and one is under construction. So work is being performed on every one of those projects approved by the voters. And then our last bond program, prior to that one, the bond 2020, it had 42 projects. 23 are completed, 12 are under construction. So that's 35. Vast majority are either completed or in construction. 5 will be under construction later this year and early next year. And then 2 are also underway. They're a design-only contract, and they're in progress. So good progress there to show the community on the bond program delivery. So, and finally, here in closing, just 2 other slides. On the next slide, our general fund unaudited results are consistent with the projections that we had this summer. Our HUT revenues are a little bit higher than the budgeted, but slightly lower than that estimate we thought. Water and wastewater, the revenues slightly higher. Expenditures are on track with what we projected this summer. And our CIP projects are being delivered on schedule overall. And the best one here is that the city remains in a financially strong position. That's really, if we had to summarize this, that would be the bullet. So next steps include February, we'll come to council with the first quarter budget and financial report. So that'll be for the new fiscal year. That covers October, November, December. Similar presentation. That'll be in February. And then in March, we'll bring what we now call the annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, to the audit committee first, and then the full city council. So that is the presentation, and again, council will receive the entire quarterly report, and it will be placed on the city's website as well. I'll turn it over to the
Councilman
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. So we have been starting our budget cycle earlier every year. Are we planning on doing that again? Are we pushing it
Yes.
forward so we can work on it a little sooner?
Yes, sir, Councilman, you're correct on that, and we'll begin like we did this year with a budget workshop with the council, kind of a budget retreat early on, so we can get policy goal direction from the city council. And then with respect to the water and wastewater business, that we're going to start today, actually, with an initial presentation on some of the water contracts that we have. That'll continue through January, February. Also in January, in the water wastewater, we're going to show you the impacts of the capital budget on rates. So that's a good example of starting, almost 2-3 months after we concluded.
Absolutely. But when will we be starting
I
the full
believe,
budget process?
Right.
Are we going to move it a month sooner, or?
Yeah, probably March. We could probably start in March on the goal-setting
Great
process
news.
with the council.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councilman Klein.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Peter, for this presentation. I want to go back to slide 11, if you could pull that up again. I guess it was page 11. I'm not sure which slide it was. Listed as page 11. This is the 2023 projected fund balances. And I just wanted clarification on this. I think I'm looking at the wastewater money numbers here. That I'm looking at the far to right columns, net ending balance and reserve policy. Under wastewater fund, net ending balance was $37 million, and the reserve policy was $19.7 million. That's 25%. So I just wanted clarification for myself. The 25% council policy, is that the 19.7? Is that the 25%, or is it their 37.0% to 25%?
The 19.7 is the 25%. It's 25% of the FY23 expenditures.
Right. So some of the members of the public have expressed concerns about this, that in the past, that these fund balances are getting rather large, and there seems to be some evidence to support that on this page.
The other part of the equation, though, Councilman, is that cash payment, pay-as-you-go financing for infrastructure replacement is something we need to look at, and we have not had the practice of budgeting that. So if we were to not issue debt and do cash payments on some of our infrastructure replacement, like sewer line replacements,
Sure.
and this fund balance would quickly go down. So what we're going to start to present to council early this year are some of the guiding principles that we need to consider in the business to include cash funding or pay-as-you-go funding infrastructure. The 25% goal itself, given that we're on a coastal community, is that sufficient? And other factors in the business. So we'll show that to council. We know that we did not have a rate increase in our water and wastewater this year at council's recommendation. And so these are things that we'll begin to talk to the council about sooner than later next year.
Funding infrastructure projects with cash, I think, is a good idea, especially with the interest rates being what they are right now.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, that's good. I'll leave it for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And Peter, I had asked you for this report some time ago. And I just, this is something we have to keep our hands around, because I'm a big supporter of our reserve policy. I think those numbers are the 25% and the 20% on our general fund. Those are numbers that are conservative, and you need to do that so that if you get into an emergency situation, you have some additional dollars. But we have to make sure those don't get out of control, because that's taxpayer money, and if we're ending up with large fund balances at the end of every year, we need to start looking at giving some of that money back to taxpayers.
Right.
So I just think that we have to keep a close eye on these fund balances. They can get out of control in a
Right.
hurry.
Agreed, Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Nope. Okay.
Okay, great. So that concludes the city manager's report this
Wonderful.
morning.
Thank you, Peter. Ms. Wortham?
Mayor and Council, we're on the board and committee appointment part of the agenda. The first board for your consideration is the Committee for Persons with Disabilities. There's one vacancy. And per council policies, recommendations for board appointments will not be solicited from boards except for the Commission on Children and Youth and the Committee for Persons with Disabilities. So the committee is recommending the appointment of Christina Arellano.
Yes.
So Mayor, we do have, the committee's recommending the appointment of Christina Arellano at this time. And we do have one vacancy.
I would like to nominate Sonia Durwacher.
I'd like,
One moment.
Hang on.
I'm sorry, I was interrupting her and I missed it. Could you say that again?
Sure. So the committee's we have one vacancy. The committee's recommending the appointment of Christina Arellano. We do have a nomination now made by Councilmember Pusley for Ms. Durwachter.
I'd like to nominate Michelle Jones.
I'd like to nominate Christina Arellano, the recommended candidate.
Well, she's already nominated.
No, she hadn't been.
Well, she's formally nominated. That's,
Okay.
that's proper for her to do that.
Any other nominations? Okay, we'll go ahead and close nominations, and we can go ahead and start with Ms. Campos.
Okay, Ms. Campos?
Ms. Arellano.
Mr. Hernandez?
Dr. Durwacher.
Durwachter? Okay. Or, I'm sorry, however you pronounce it. Mr. Pusley?
Durwacher.
Okay, also Durwachter. Mr. Hunter? Jones. Mr. Hunter Jones.
Arellano.
Jones.
Jones, Mr. Barrera.
Jones.
Okay, Mr. Klein Jones.
Jones.
Yeah, we have 4. Yes, well, we got 2. We're going to have to do a runoff between Durwachter and Arellano, I guess, to get to the 5.
Okay. We'll start over here, Rebecca.
So we got to do the
Yeah, the 2. So Durwachter and Arellano have 2 votes each. Jones doesn't have 5 votes to reach the,
So would it be just the 4 that voted for those 2?
sorry?
My apologies. So the 4 that just voted for those 2, then that's the one that they're going to do the runoff in? Or do we all
Yes.
vote? Because there's one position available.
So Jones doesn't have 5 votes, though. Is that, I'm sorry, did I understand your question?
Okay, so I supported Jones. So now are you going to put me in a position to vote for Durwacher and not Arellano?
Yeah,
for a
you know,
runoff?
let me check, if you just give me a moment, I need to check our policy. It's motion, for motions, normally it's present and voting. So if it's present and voting, then we would just need 4 people. Yeah, but let me just, hold on one moment, I'm sorry.
Got you.
By the way, we had some really good applicants for this position.
Standard 4 works. Is it specific to this board? Is that what we're checking? I think Jones walks away with it. Because Everett's not here. That's a 50.
Okay, so per our council policies, vote required for passage, except as otherwise required by law for a particular matter. Final passage of an ordinance or resolution shall require the affirmative vote of a majority of all council members holding office. Other matters shall require a majority of council members present and voting. So this is a motion, so we can work off of present and voting. So although there's 8 of you, it's still 5. Yeah, so what we're going to have to do is postpone this one until we have a council member to break that.
Okay, correct. Okay. Then let's move on to Corpus Christi Aquifer Storage and Recovery Conservation District.
All right, council members, for the Corpus Christi Aquifer Storage and Recovery Conservation District, there are 4 vacancies. Historically, city staff has served on the board, and city manager Peter Zanoni is recommending appointment of the following positions. They would be the director of planning, and this position is currently held by Dan McGinn, chief operations officer of Corpus Christi Water, and that position is currently held by interim COO Andrew Molly. Deputy Director of the Airport, that's held by Tyler Miller, and Assistant Director of Corpus Christi Water, who is Nick Winkleman.
Move to appoint.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries.
Next, we have the Ethics Commission. There's 1 vacancy, and per council policies, a member of the Ethics Commission is appointed by 2/3 vote of the full council. So that is 6 votes. It's a higher threshold. So at this point, we can open the floor. It would be proper to open the floor for nominations, Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Candace Hart. And I also want to, Candace
You
Hart.
nominated Candace Hart.
And I want to make a comment. You know, Rebecca, I was looking at Kristen Heslip's resume that she included, and she
Yes, sir.
included her address when we blocked those out. And we put that she lives in District 3. She lives in District 5.
Okay. Sometimes voters, the applicants will self-report. They think they're in that, but we can double-check it.
Yeah, if we could double check her, I'm sure, I mean, there's got to be a way now where, because that it gives them the drop down, it tells them where they're at, or we could attach a link that says, find out where you're, we do? Okay.
There's a link to it, and we do check. I'm not sure what happened here, but
Okay,
yeah. But
okay,
we'll,
I just wanted to clarify that, okay.
thank you very much.
Any other
We'll,
nominations?
we'll make
Yes,
sure
I'd like to
change that.
nominate Ballinger.
Ballinger. Any other nominations? Okay, we'll close nominations, and let's start Rebecca on to my left.
Okay. Mr. Suckley?
Ballinger.
Hart. Hart.
Ballinger?
Ballinger.
Ballinger.
Hart.
Yes, so we need 6 votes for this one as well, so we're going to have to postpone until we get another council member.
We need
4,
an Everett.
5. Didn't Ballinger get 5?
She did, but this is,
Oh,
for this
I'm sorry.
particular board, we need six
Right.
votes.
So we'll postpone this one.
Yes, ma'am, we're going to
Okay.
postpone it.
I'm so
Next-
sorry.
So the next one is the Water, Shore, and Beach Advisory Committee, and this is the last board for consideration today. There are 5 vacancies, and they represent the following preferred but not required categories: 1 environmentalist, 1 CVB member, 1 engineer, and 2 at-large, although again, these are preferred but not required categories. The following members are seeking reappointment. They're Philip Blackmar, Ruben Macias, and Harrison McNeil, and you have their attendance records in your packet.
I move to
I
reappoint.
move to reappoint. Oh,
Okay,
go
we have a
ahead.
motion.
The motion and a second to reappoint.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries.
Thank you very
Mayor,
much.
could I make a statement?
Sure.
I just want to thank Meredith Darden for her service. She's terming out as the chair.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
And she's done a great job, and I think that we just owe her our thanks, so we really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Mayor,
you,
I'm
Ms.
sorry, we have
Darden.
a couple more. So there's 5 vacancies. We've reappointed 3 of the members, but we do have 2 vacant positions remaining. So we
Okay,
do need
let's
to
up
open nominations for that.
nominations.
Yes, sir, 2 vacancies.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Catherine Hyatt.
Okay, any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Pittman.
Pittman, okay, Councilman Klein?
I'd like to nominate Seneca Holland.
Mayor, I'd also like to nominate Glenn Duhan.
Duhan.
Yeah.
Is any other nominations, ladies, gentlemen? Okay, we'll close nominations.
Okay.
And we'll start to my right.
Okay. Ms. Campos? Vote for 2, please.
Oh, for 2, right?
Holland. Can I pass on the other one?
If you like, yeah, just one.
Pittman.
Hyatt and 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 Duhan.
Pittman and Holland.
Hyatt and Pittman.
Okay, so Hyatt and Pittman are appointed. All right, Mayor and Council, that concludes our appointments for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so let me go to consent agenda. We'll pull the items. We won't hear the items until we return back from lunch. Any individual items between items 6 through 19 that anyone would like to pull?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 10. I voted against it during the last week, so I'll be voting against it again.
Okay, and we also have number 18 that's pulled. Any other items between items 6 through 19? Okay, there being none, I will go ahead and, did you have one, sir? Motion. That's okay.
Sorry. I want to pull the one where we're doing the paving contract
With JE?
with
I think.
let's see, which one is the first reading? Lost it.
Hang on.
Dawson, construction. Uh, 27.
That's not on consent.
This is just 6 through 19.
That's not on consent,
So
sir.
we'll be able, we have a
Second.
motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. So we will hear items number 10 and 18 upon return from lunch. What I'd like to do right now before we break from lunch is go ahead and take item number 20. Item number 20 is an ordinance authorizing the creation of a Corpus Christi B Corporation project, which includes the expenditure of $1 million for an agreement with South Texas Military Housing LP for the construction of a Chief of Naval Air Training Flag Officer Quarters at Naval Air Station
Motion to
Corpus Christi.
approve.
Second.
Oh, we have a motion, we have a second, and this is a great news item. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. I wanted that to happen quickly, Ryan, but I also want to say this is I just wanted to run it through because this is a wonderful, wonderful partnership, and I'll let you speak here and say a few things. We have members of our military here. I want to make sure we recognize, we have 3 Sinatra representatives, and where are you? Please raise your hand. There you are. Thank you for being here. And thank you for your partnership. This is a historic day for us. It truly is. Ryan, would you like to say a few words?
No, ma'am, that was my only comment. A number of community supporters and Sinatra representatives here that all wanted to be here to help support the item.
Yes.
In addition to the Type B representatives, thank you also for their vision and their support of this project.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Yep. And the city manager of Kingsville yeah, Mayor, I believe you have a list.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, Kingsville and the port as well. So the city of Kingsville and the county, Clayburgh County, and the Port of Corpus Christi, we want to thank all of those partners who are part of this endeavor moving forward. For legal purposes, I did not ask for public comment, and I want to make sure we do because I was trying to get this moving. So I'd like to open public comment on this item. I know we have friends here that may want to make come on down. Public comment on item number 20.
Thank you, Mayor. Creston Cook, 4718 Mars Hill. I'm Executive Director of the South Texas Military Task Force. I really appreciate the council's vote on this project. This is something important for our community, and it shows our support to the Navy and the military in our community who are partners for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Creston. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, council members, Peter, thank you for having me. I'm Mark McLaughlin. I live at 3535 Santa Fe here in Corpus. I am currently the city manager at Kingsville, Texas. I'm in a unique position to talk to this subject because I was the former base commander at NES Kingsville from 2010 to 2013, and that base, like NES Corpus Christi, is a factory. It's widgets or pilots, and that falls under the support of the Chief of Naval Air Training, even though as a base commander, you don't report to the Sinatra, you report to Scenic, different person. And I also served on the Sinatra staff under 3 separate admirals, and I was the head of all training, the N7. So I will tell you right up front, home field advantage is everything for an admiral, and we don't want to lose the only Navy flag officer in the state of Texas to leave out of state. Part of that is because their residence, which is, if you've been to other naval installations, you will see how nice residents are, especially supporting admirals. It is not just their home residence, it is their place of business on many occasions, including community functions. It is very important when you're fighting for those almighty federal dollars that you have your admiral in your own backyard. And it is very important that we keep Sinatra here, and we don't want to lose him because he doesn't have a house. The Navy procurement cycle will take decades to try to get a house for him, so I applaud you all for looking at 4B to support the Admiral's house. The city of Kingsville, and I can speak for my mayor because he told me I could do this, Sam Fugate, we are completely in support, and we put it in our budget this year. We're just waiting for the invoice from Leah, that the city of Kingsville also posted $25,000 to go towards this effort. So thank you again for letting me speak.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all for your service. I sit in his chair, and I thought I had it rough. You all are doing a great job.
Absolutely.
They pay us big money for it.
One more comment here, and this is a great thing that we're doing. 100% support it. I've asked this question a couple times and I haven't gotten confirmation, but since we have some of the Sinatra staff here, is when you walked in the old Sinatra house, I believe it was on the left-hand side when you walked through the door, there was a plaque there that listed all the previous admirals that had ever lived in that house, I think back to the 40s. So it was really, really cool to see it and to have it. And I haven't had anybody confirm that that was saved before the house was raised, and I hope that it finds its rightful place in the new house.
Yes, I see Leah saying yes, and,
Awesome.
and they've done a great job. Thank you, Leah, for being
Thank you.
here and all you've done. Alan, the whole team, thank you very, very much. This is so important, and we take much pride in partnering with our military. So thank you all. Any other public comment on item number 20? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment, and thank you for that vote. So, as mentioned, we're going to break for lunch, but one last thing I'd like to do, a very special announcement that I'd like to share with everyone. This morning, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality has provided the city of Corpus Christi a draft permit for the Inner Harbor Seawater Desalination Facility. So this location at Inner Harbor was selected based on a review of over 20 potential candidate sites. The future site is optimally located within the city, and it has access to reliable power and land. Most importantly, though, it is integrated into our drinking water system and optimally serves both our residents and industry. So I want to thank our city manager and his team. I want to thank Corpus Christi Water, Drew Molly and their team for working so hard behind the scenes to make this day possible. This is a critical stride forward. The entire world is watching this region. They are watching this, and this news is going to travel very quickly. So this is really a time to say that it is our time and that it is a new day in Corpus Christi. This means much, much progress and many years, many councils of hard work and staff, as mentioned, of trying to move this ball forward. And today, we have that draft permit in hand. So it's a huge feat. I just want to thank everyone on that. Any comments? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good job. Thank you, Peter. So as mentioned, we're going to go ahead and break. Let's see, do we have a, yeah, we do. We have an executive session item. When we return, we'll hear items number 10 and 18. So the council will go into executive session on item number 30 per Texas Government Code Section 551.
32, Mayor. On item 32, Mayor.
Oh.
I'm sorry, if it says 30.
32,
If
okay.
it says 30, that's my
On item number
mistake.
32, per Government Code Section 551.071. We will return.